and welcome to today's video. It has been inspired by a number of our clients and fans around what we could do to bring more emotional intelligence wisdom to our world. So whether we're looking at individuals or we're looking at organizations or just groups and communities in general. So today's conversation is titled Leading with Emotional Intelligence in an Evolving World. And I'm going to share some information about some of the advisory, training, mentoring conversations that I have with individuals, entrepreneurs, and leaders in different parts of our world to enable them to use more of their emotional intelligence to get the results that they're looking for, whether this is to do with leading better, working with others better, managing interrelational relationships better, or getting more of the results that they're looking for in their environment. It can definitely be applied at home as well, because let's face it, emotions are all around us. So if we have not met, I am Maggie Sappho. I'm an advisor and mentor, and I work and enable individuals, entrepreneurs, and leaders to explore new ways of being, new ways of leading, and new ways of growing their businesses exponentially. There's another element to the work I do, which is more holistic in nature, which is the Akashic records work. So I'm also a conscious channel and an Akashic records consultant, enabling people to connect more deeply with who they are, and then aligning this back into their lives and into their businesses and whatever else is important to them. Thank you for taking some time to listen, and here we go. So let's talk about leading and performing with emotional intelligence. And my intention for today's conversation is that you can take what you want to take away from it, and if you feel that this program, parts of it, the whole of it, will support you, whether individually or as part of a team or community or as a leader, then please get in touch and we can definitely tailor this in a way that works for you. As I said, I do use it in an advisory capacity. I sit on some boards and we look at using more emotional intelligence in making the right decisions for the people that we serve. I also train people, I also mentor people on an individual basis. So let's see how this works for you, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation to tailor this to what your needs are. Most people who know me will say that I'll always say I'm always looking to meeting people at their exact point of need. Okay, so emotions are all around us, whether at home, at work, in all the environments we find ourselves in. And it's important that as leaders and individuals, we understand how to tap into them and cultivate productivity and positive relationships, at all costs. So in this course or in this conversation, we're going to explore how to connect with the emotionally intelligent self to better communicate and to better lead, to better work with others, and also to manage up. So if you find yourself in a scenario where you're having to manage up to your bosses, then this is also a very good conversation or a good angle for you to look at in terms of getting more emotionally intelligent so you can do what you're meant to do better. So we will learn what emotional intelligence is, what are the factors that come into play when we're dealing with emotional intelligence. We'll look at discovering concrete techniques to raising our EQ or emotional quotient. We'll also look at how to perceive yourself more accurately, how to exercise emotional self-control, understanding and managing your own triggers, and then developing more empathy. So again, some of these are the areas that we focus in the emotional intelligence program that we do in general. So that's why I want to explore that with you. And then, as we do this, we also want to then turn those lessons around and then build our own awareness. So the awareness of ourselves and the awareness of ourselves in relation to others, so that we can become more inspiring, more effective to lead ourselves and people better. And inherent in all of this work around emotional intelligence is also our ability to communicate better. So let's define emotional intelligence, and then after that I'll come into more of the nitty-gritty in terms of what the program covers. So I could always tell you my definition of emotional intelligence is always very simple, but it's always good to look at what the sources are around emotional intelligence. Now, before I go into the definition of emotional intelligence, some of you would know that I do talk a lot about the intersection between emotional intelligence and artificial intelligence. And a fascinating description that I come across on Wiki the other day was the fact that emotional intelligence is natural intelligence, right? So it goes to show that even if you feel that you don't have too much emotional intelligence, that's okay, because it's natural, it's inherent to all of us. And so we do have the ability to cultivate it, to bring it back to life if along the way we have forgotten how to apply our own natural intelligence. So this particular definition on Wiki said emotional intelligence is natural intelligence that is displayed by humans and animals, and it has more of consciousness and emotionality attached. How about that, right? I think that captures emotional intelligence so much, and the more we move away from our emotional intelligence, the more we move away from our naturalness and our humanity as well. And that is why angles around empathy is so important when we have emotional intelligence discussions, but I will come to that later. So let's look at other definitions. I'll show two more definitions of emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is our ability to be aware of, to control, to express our own emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. So that's one definition. What do you think about that? Think about it. And then finally, I'll give you one more. The ability to perceive, to use, to understand, and manage, as well as handle our emotions. So those are some of the definitions that we come across when we talk about emotional intelligence. I'm not a big fan of trying to measure intelligence per se. Quite frankly, I was speaking to a researcher the other day, and he said to me he is preferring to use the word wisdom instead of intelligence more and more. Why? Because intelligence has some levels of connotations to it, which is almost always attached to the brain or ability to perform a certain function or to score something, which is not necessarily what intelligence is about. It's wider than that, which is why he was telling me that he prefers the word wisdom to intelligence. Anyway, that's an aside conversation. So when we look at the emotional intelligence program that we have at Mary's Consult, which is my company, we have several learning objectives, and I'm going to just take a few moments to go through the learning objectives, because I think this will set the scene in terms of how this could apply to you. So we explore the emotionally intelligent leader and culture. So this is especially in a work environment. So or a community or any setting where we have groups of people coming together. So we look at the emotionally intelligent leader, the emotionally intelligent culture, what it looks like, and we explore it with the we start with the end in mind. So we'll kind of set the vision in terms of where we would like to be, and then we come back to say, okay, so then what do we need to do to get to this beautiful picture and vision that we've painted, and hopefully got everyone to get on board as well. So that's one of the areas that we explore. We also look at the science behind emotional intelligence. I have actually written a blog on my blog, maggiesafo.com, where I look at exploring making board level decisions using emotional intelligence. And I talk about the science and the art of emotional intelligence. I talk about combining the heart and the mind. We talk about how emotional intelligence is actually our ability to also use the thinking heart, because believe it or not, our heart thinks, and a lot of our emotionality and our ability to be more human sits in our heart. So we'll explore the science behind emotional intelligence. We'll also go on and look at identifying and assessing our own emotions, because it gets personal, right? Whenever we talk about emotional intelligence, I normally refer to the me in emotional intelligence, and then I refer to the others in emotional intelligence. So you can refer to that as the you in emotional intelligence and the others, or you in relation to others. So we look at that, and then we look at how to assess your own emotions. First of all, charity begins at home, they say. So from there, we also look at determining how to exercise emotional self-control. Because we have emotions that are positive and we have emotions that are not so positive. And when we understand ourselves better, we are able to then identify the emotions. Remember, the definition talked about being able to self-express. So if we're expressing emotions that are not good for us and for others, then we want to look at how we exercise some level of self-control, or better yet, I would say how we turn it around to serve us, right? Because that is the thing, you know, where we are exhibiting emotions that are not positive, there's a reason behind it. It's one of the reasons why, for instance, my Akashic records work, which is all about enabling people to be connected more deeply into what is embedded at the root cause of everything that's happening in their lives at the moment now, is really important, because it then allows us to then understand and move forward from there. So yeah, so we will look at how to determine and exercise emotional self-control. From there, we'll look at identifying our triggers, right? So identify your triggers and how to respond to them. And then the all important element of empathy comes in. So assess how others respond in different scenarios, assess how others respond to you in particular, and how you can then, you know, mirror the good of it, and turn around the not so good of it as well. Mind you, when it comes to combining emotional intelligence with our kind of mind intelligence, the whole idea is we are then able to make better decisions and take better actions that are good for us, as well as good for others, as well as good for the whole environment. So it's a bigger picture way of looking at things, which in the end makes everyone happier. The last two areas that we cover in this program are to define or determine how to maximize team performance using emotional intelligence. And then finally, we look at discovering how to integrate the change, because once we start the conversations around emotional intelligence, change is inevitable. Well, change is always inevitable anyway, it's always around us. But we start to then go deeper into integrating this change in perception, this change in behavior, this change in our action to ourselves and in relation to others. And so the final stage of the program is about discovering and integrating the change. within the self and also within others. And it's important that we give ourselves time, which is one of the reasons why, you know, we plan the programs in such a way that whether this is kind of on a one-to-one mentoring, coaching sessions, or advisory or training, there is a lag at the end of the initial program where you get to integrate, and then we can reconvene and see how things are coming up for you. Okay, so this program, the Emotional Intelligence Program, what are the skills covered? I hear you ask. We really look at learned as well as innate skills within ourselves. And as I said, it's predominantly around tapping into our emotional intelligence. And then if you happen to be a leader, or if you happen to be part of an organization, and part of this is also about self and team leadership, right? There are various exercises around the program. You can choose to do this online or offline. And then we also allow 2 weeks to 1 month in between, where we come back for the integration. So we have another conversation and bring the training or the program to a good completion, leaving room for you to touch base as and when you need, because again, it's life, right? This is why I started talking about emotions are all around us, is at home, is at work, and it's everywhere. And so there would be stuff that come up that will not show up its true colors to you until you find yourself truly embedded in it. And when that happens, you go, I know how to handle this, or actually I'm thrown in the deep end here and maybe I need to refill my cup. And from that perspective, the doors are always open for you to come back and get some resources around this. Okay, well, what's included in this program? I would be providing some guides. I talked about some exercises. You'll receive some PDF guides, and depending on your level, we can go through it. And as I said, we'll tailor this to your needs. Okay, so I am going to end it here. As I said, communication is key. And so one of the key elements of this program, this emotional intelligence program, whether we're dealing with individuals, leaders, entrepreneurs, anyone at all, community leaders, is all about being able to self-lead, being able to people lead, and also being able to communicate better, but tapping into your own emotional intelligence in relation to others, becoming your best self. So I will leave any additional information that you need to know in this video, or at the bottom in the comments of this video. And also, I will also provide information for you to contact me. The best way for you to contact me is to also to go to our website, which is merisconsult.com. So MERES consult, CONSULT.com. And there you'll be able to you know, either book a complimentary call or fill out an inquiry form, and I will be in touch again very soon. So that's me. I hope this conversation helped you to understand elements of emotional intelligence better in this evolving world. And dare I say, the world will keep evolving, and the best leaders are those who are able to tap into their minds as well as their heart. And emotional intelligence plays a huge role in it, whether we're looking at your individual self-leadership or your people leadership. So thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you around very soon. Maggie Saffel signing out. Bye-bye.